Okay, so today has been voted for by you, and what I'm doing with these trainings is just really simplifying everything. So one of the things that I found both for myself and for my clients is that the biggest thing holding us back from like really flourishing, really living our true purpose, because I don't know about you, but I've just got this immense desire to like be the absolute best version of myself. And this is something that I've always had. It's always, you know, driven me to learn lots of things and study lots of things. And what I found is like the biggest thing that holds us back from being that version of ourselves and being that best version of ourselves is where we're not connected to our authentic selves. Okay, so in some way there is a part of us that we are not owning, or we're not in alignment. I worked with one client recently, and I was shown that she was like off a train track, okay, and we just needed to bring her back and put her back onto the rails, back onto the train track. So shadow work is a great way to enable us to do this as well. Shadow work is a great way to enable us to be ourselves. And when I talk about being our authentic selves, what I'm not talking about is just be you and, you know, just carry on with, you know, with all the, you know, whether it's, you know, perhaps you've had anxiety in the past, or you've had, you know, things might be triggering you, which we're going to talk about. It's not. So I did a quick live the other day actually to touch on some of this, which was it's okay not to be okay, but what are you going to do about it? Okay, so what we don't want to do is we've been brought to this planet. I don't think that's quite the right phrase, but as I'm saying this, I can see rainbows on the wall. It's absolutely beautiful. My Dreamcatcher has Suncatcher has just put some rainbows on the wall for me in that moment, which is lovely. So I would turn it around, but then I'll mess up the view, especially with my whole weird face thing going on my screen. So we all have this purpose, and we all have this ability to be that best version of ourselves, so that we can then be that best version of ourselves for others, so that we can deliver our mission, our unique gifts, and bring those to life. But things that are in our shadow selves can really hold us back. And if we don't know about shadow work, and we don't know about the shadow, then we're not being our authentic selves, because there are things that are getting in the way of us stepping into that alignment. Okay, so when we clear the shadows, we step into alignment and we step into our authentic selves. And as I said at the start, connecting with your authentic self is like the number one thing that you can do. So if right now you're watching this and there are parts of you that you are hiding, then you need to look at this, okay? Because if you, and I'm like I'm super hot on this stuff as well. I didn't quite realise, and this is kind of a gift that I had as a child, was that if someone was hiding something, then I would know, and I wouldn't necessarily always know what it was, but I would pick up on the energy, and that can really lower our vibration. Okay, so if you're watching this and there is a part of you that, firstly, you may not even be aware of it, so I'm going to tell you how you can become aware of it. Or secondly, if you're aware of it, but you're putting yourself back into that box that society has created for you, right? Society, institutions, patriarchy, like literally everything in this world that has, you know, mainly been created by man, is to put you in a box, is to keep you small, is to keep you, you know, carrying on with the masses and keeping quiet and keeping in your box. So if you're putting yourself in a box, if you are disowning parts of you, then you're actually bringing yourself back. So not only are you not raising your vibration, and actually, you know, this is a responsibility piece, because if you're working through the shadows, then you're raising your vibrational rate, you're raising your vibrational level, and you're developing spiritually. Owning all parts of yourself means you develop spiritually. And if you're not owning all parts of yourself, and you're not looking at the shadows, you're not raising your vibrational rate, you're not developing spiritually. So if you have a divine purpose on this planet to help people, to heal people, to help people, to hold space for people, perhaps, even create things for people, you're not truly helping people if you are in that space of not owning those parts of you. Okay, so yes, it is scary, and yes, sometimes you have to be brave to do this inner work, but it will absolutely come back and reward you tenfold, I promise you, and I'm a living example of this. Okay, so I want to talk about, what should we talk about first? I want to talk about light washing, my favourite topic of the week, and then I'm going to go a bit more into the shadow and some of the practical stuff. Okay, so light washing. This is a word I feel like I made it up when I was having a conversation with my friend Victoria Bond the other day, but it could be a word that's, it could be a word. But what light washing is when we plaster love and light over things. Now, I'm guilty of this. When I first spiritually awakened, the people that were around me at the time didn't really understand what was going on for me. They just thought I was going crazy, and I needed someone to talk to. I was trying to find a community. I was trying to find other spiritually awakened people who would, who I could connect to and talk to about these things, who were going through it as well. And very easily, I fell into what I would call the spiritual community. And what I didn't realise, even though I had a degree, I've got my degree in psychology, I went on and did further study in positive psychology, I've done a mindfulness diploma, I've studied neuroscience, so even though I had like all of that backing, I still fell into the trap of the spiritual community, which was all about love and light. Okay, and I'm not saying this is the whole spiritual community, but certainly for part of it. And if we're not careful, we fall into these boxes and labels with this stuff as well. Okay, so one of the things that I am doing at the moment is I'm changing all of my programs, because I'm not going to call Reiki anymore. Because yes, I am trained in Reiki, yes, I am a Reiki master, but that's just another box that I'm putting myself in. And what I was finding is when I was doing Reiki, I was getting spirit coming through, so I was using my mediumship skills. I was connecting to I was basically connecting to universal energy and then intuitively using it. So I wasn't following the rules, if you like, of my Reiki teachers, and I was starting to feel like a bit of a deviant. But what I've come to learn is that if we're not careful, yes, we need to sometimes label things to get them to make sense to us, but if we're labeling things too much, then we're putting ourselves in a box. So I'm actually now going to be calling myself just an energy healer, because it's universal energy that I'm using. So these are things that we have to be really careful of, and this is where light washing can occur. So I'm incredibly lucky that I've had some great teachers who have kind of embraced the whole spectrum, but I've also had readings and things in the past where I've fallen down that trap. Okay, and you have to remember that as well as the different institutions that we have in life, some of these spiritual practices can be that as well. And the true route to spiritual development is through connecting to that universal source energy and becoming a clear channel. And the way that we become a clear channel is by doing shadow work. Okay, we cannot force our ascension process and our spiritual development through love and light. Okay, and this is the problem. This is the light washing. It's all love and light. I send you love and light, but we're not looking at the dark side. We're not looking at the shadows, and they will pop out. So what is shadow work? So shadow work comes from psychologist Carl Jung. It is the work of Carl Jung. But Carl is the first person who brought shadow work to the Western world. So whilst we hear a lot from Carl, and a lot of his work has been I should say Jung, shouldn't I? I'm calling him Carl. Just my mate Carl. Just my mate Carl who does shadow work. So Carl brought it into, I make myself laugh sometimes. Jung, sorry. Jung brought shadow work. We're like first name terms, me and Carl. He brought shadow work into the Western world, and he brought it mainstream, a bit like how John Kabat-Zinn brought mindfulness into the Western world. But shadow work has existed throughout lots of different traditions. It sits within the realm of like the shamanic work, past life work, and some of the religions as well. But basically, Jung's kind of take on this is that that the shadow is any part of you that you don't see, you don't acknowledge it, or you don't accept it. And what happens on a psychological level is that in childhood, something happens to you where you show this part of yourself, then you are told to shut it down, repress it, or you're not rewarded for that thing by your parents. Or it might just be I know for me, like, it could even be like the tiniest thing that someone has said, or you could have even watched something on TV which has like conditioned you to believe that these parts of you are not valid and they need to be pushed down. So we really want to look at these parts of ourselves, and they're so far pushed down that we don't see them, and that they're in our subconscious mind, and we push them down so far, a bit like a jack in the box. Push, and of course they're gonna spring up. Okay, I don't know what that noise was. They're gonna spring up, and they're gonna come out. So here's some ways that they come out. So they come out through being triggered. Okay, so situations. So this was the moment where I knew I needed to do something about this. It was when I was in my corporate job. I was running my business on the side part-time, and I was going to train a group of people in coaching skills. So not only am I an accredited coach, but I was training others in coaching skills as well, which I absolutely love doing. I'm going to definitely be doing some more of that at some point. So yeah, what happened is this guy walked into the room. I don't know why, if he'd had a bad day or I don't know what happened, but basically one thing led to another, and he started to shout at me and stand up. And he was a big guy anyway, and I was sitting down at the table. He stood up and he was towering over me, and he was saying, you're just a coach because you don't have any technical knowledge, you don't have any skills, you can't use any systems, so being a coach is a cop-out. I don't want to learn coaching skills because I don't want to be like you. And I felt my whole body, the guy had his own conditioning and his own triggers and his own, it could have been, my guess was maybe like he'd had some kind of parent trauma and his parents had to go to therapy or something, and he kind of then associated like coaching with therapy, and he had his own triggers. But I felt all of this emotion rise in my body. My heart was beating. I was like constantly overthinking, like, oh, have I done enough, like, what else can I do, like, how can I calm this guy down? I was looking around the room and none of the rest of the training group was supporting me. They were just all staring. and I felt all this emotion rise up, and I managed to hold it together, and the guy did end up staying in the end. But I was shaking, I was physically shaking because my body had gone into a fear response. And yeah, all this emotion had come up, and I managed to like hold it together. So this is another thing, right? Because I'd pushed the shadow down so far, I was so good at being a swan. So you would never know. I would be delivering a training session and everyone would say like how confident I was. But there would be little micro expressions. So those that were like quite intuitive would pick up and say, are you okay? Because I pushed it so far down that I was so good at kind of controlling it. And then what happened is they all left the room. I was in London, I got on the train to go home, and as soon as I got on the train, the tears just went whoosh, and it all came out. I was drained, I was physically ill. So the next day I felt like I had a hangover, I had a heavy head, I had a dry mouth, I felt sick, and it had affected me on a physical level as well. And it was only through, because we don't know what we don't know, right? It was only through having a conversation with my friend Anna, who I think, lovely Anna Rushmere, who's on here, who'd been doing some shadow work, and you know, that's a big part of Anna's work as well. And she said to me, you're just being triggered. You're just being triggered. Like, you need to look at this. Like, you need to do this course. So this is when I then did my training in shadow work, and found the lovely Michelle Elizabeth, and started to do some work with Michelle. And what I found is that every single time, so I've been on this journey with shadow work now for about 3 years, and it is one of the things that enabled me to leave my corporate job and step into my business, because I did all of the shadow work around what was holding me back. It's enabled me to go through a divorce. It's enabled me to move house several times and navigate. I've lived in several holiday homes over the last few months, and it's enabled me to do all of that as well. And when I say it's enabled me to do it, not just emotionally, but also physically. So because I'm a clear channel, because I take responsibility for working on those shadows that come up and owning all of those parts of me, what happens is I become a clear channel. When I'm a clear channel, I can then connect to my intuition. But also stuff just drops in. So like manifesting this home happened in that way. I'd really gone through a really deep process of looking at myself, looking at my shadow over like the kind of winter to spring period. And I came here, I saw it was by the sea, and I said, how nice would it be to live here? The next thing I know, the opportunity drops in. So when we do the shadow work, we become that clear channel, and then we can manifest with ease. Otherwise, if we're not looking at the shadow and we're not looking at the subconscious mind, so brain geek coming in a little bit here again, we've got the reticular activating system in the brain. And the reticular activating system likes to prove us right. So it will be like, oh, remember, you've got that anxiety part of you, that sensitive part of you in your shadow, but we've pushed that down. So let's manifest more situations where you can dull yourself down, and and dull down that sensitivity. Or let's magnetize to you people that are going to really trigger that sensitivity until you really work on it. So on an energetic level, so we've looked at kind of Carl Jung, and we've looked at the shadow self, but on an energetic level, so this is kind of taking us beyond the work of Jung, the chakras in our body and in our energy system will shut down with certain shadows. Okay, so I know for me there was a huge link between being my authentic self and my anxiety and my sensitivity and my throat chakra. Because I was such a good swan, I would just pretend everything on the surface was all okay and I was okay, but underneath on the surface I was anxious, I was panicky, I was really worried, and my like a swan, the legs were going underwater. So because I wasn't voicing that, and this was like the first part of that journey for me, was voicing it, and this is where this takes us beyond traditional approaches that are often in the mainstream as well. So I did have some counselling, and I was able to voice it and say, I'm feeling this anxiety, I'm feeling I really want to grow my business, but I'm just feeling held back because these situations are making me feel anxious, and part of that was voicing it. So that was kind of the first step, but then it was like, what am I going to do with this? So this is why like I'm super passionate about, let's not keep saying it's okay not to be okay, full stop, right? Because it's not a full stop, right? It's okay not to be okay, but then how are we going to use that? How are we going to I like to use the word alchemize, like how are we going to alchemize those gifts? Because so taking this another step further as well than you'll find in most shadow work training, is that we want to alchemize those gifts. So We're not saying, so for me, for example, I would see my anxiety as a bad thing. So it's a bad thing, it's part of me. My sensitivity is a bad thing. So in the past, I need to push it down, or I need to control it, or I need to, I need to manage that thing because it's like a negative part of me. Well, no, it's not. Like, because everything in the nothing is good or bad. Everything is universal. Everything is unity. So actually, like, I can alchemize that anxiety. So that anxiety makes me super intuitive. And I can tune into things. I can tune into my coaching clients on a really deep level to know what's going on for them. So that story that I shared at the start about my client who, I was shown this from source, that she was disconnected from her train track and that she needed to just be like brought into alignment. So yes, I have had a past of like extreme anxiety, and I've worked through a load of that, but there is a gift in that as well. There is a gift in that sensitivity, that intuition. And I woke up yesterday, so this is like an example of this gift, but also an example of what you can do when you work with your shadow. I woke up yesterday feeling like I had the flu. I woke up, I was like, oh, my heart, my chest, I feel horrendous. And I did a Zumba class the day before, like a YouTube Zumba class, just to like try something different and move my body. I was like, oh, I've not done Zumba for years, and maybe it was the Zumba class. And then I sat down to meditate, and I suddenly went, no, this isn't mine. So when you start to work with the shadow, and you start to work with your own energy, and you start to work with your own energy field, and I think for a lot of us, it's been like a massive, massive gift of lockdown, is that we've been able to come back to ourselves and connect to ourselves. So we're getting much more in touch with what is our energy, what is our energy body, what is in our chakra system. So I was able to stop and go, no, this shit is not mine. Okay, so I woke up yesterday and I knew that something was going on in the collective. So it was either going to be someone, someone close to me that I'm connected to and I've not, done enough cord cutting, or something going on in the collective. And it felt like I had the flu. Okay, so at that moment of waking up, I was like, I think I'm really ill. And then it was like, no, feel into this. Like, this is energy, firstly, and this energy is not mine. So what I then did, as you know, I don't watch the news. I don't have the news on or anything, but I thought I need to go and look because I know, and I'm getting this feeling that something is going on in the collective. So I need to go and look at what is going on, because then that will help me to confirm. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong, but it helps me to confirm and go, okay, like there is something going on. This is what I'm feeling. So I know it's not mine. So what I was able to do is go and look and go, okay, like there is some stuff going on in the collective at the moment. There's a lot of fear being pumped out by the media. Of course there is, because there's so many of us awakening. There's so many of us rising up. So the only way to bring us down is to pump out a load of fear again, and to, it's that balance, isn't it? Balance it out. So they know what they're doing. And I won't go into that today because that's probably like a completely other new live, but yeah, all of this fear is being pumped out to keep us small, to drop our vibrational rate. So I was like, oh, that is what has happened. Okay, well, return to sender. That is not mine. In the past, what I would have done is woken up and gone, oh my gosh, it's my anxiety, what do I need to work on now? But that was not mine. Okay, so when you firstly connect with yourself and your energy, you start to understand what's yours and what isn't, but also it didn't trigger me. So even if I was, I was somebody that got up and watched the news, which my old self used to, then I'm now in a space that I can see it with almost like 5D eyes and go, okay, I can see that happening. I can see how that's making people feel. I can see how I picked up on that, and almost like see it as separate to myself rather than just automatically taking it in. So this is what shadow work can do for you. So you'll find that you're getting triggered less and less and less. So I was starting to find that people in my life would be like, oh, I'm so sorry I did that thing, and I'd be like, didn't bother me, because that's people's own expectations. So yeah, it can make a huge difference to like our day to day and our feelings and our emotions. And one thing that I found was happening was that I'd get triggered by something, and then, you know, I'd be like, oh, my day is ruined. I planned to do this today, and now I've been triggered and I've been emotionally hijacked, and now I can't do this thing. And that would, you know, that would then set me back, and then I'd be like, oh, but come on, we need to do some work, like we need to get on with this, you know, and the panic would set in, and I'd be like, come on, we need to do some stuff, don't be so silly. And like my Victorian father part of myself would come in and be like, come on, Gemma, just get on with it. We don't, you know, you don't get things done unless you work hard. And then I'd go in this kind of perpetual cycle and loop. But what I've been able to do is kind of look at the shadows of that as well, because we can look at the shadows of everything, right? So why was that part of me coming in? What was that trying to show me? And why was I attracting that ability to just hijack everything? Like, where did that come from? So by looking at that and also surrendering to the energy and working with the energy, I've been able to like bend time. So Saturday, I felt super energized because I took some time out last week and I did some shadow work last week, and I woke up and I was like, right, let's go. And I got like 3 days worth of stuff done in a morning. So when we work with our energy, we can get so much more done without drama, you know, and we can just get that balance where, you know, stuff's coming up, we're working through it, and then we're moving on, we're working with our energy, we're resting when we need to rest, we're working when we feel motivated and we want to work, you know, just with no drama. Okay, so shadow work can help us connect to our most authentic selves. We want to be looking at those triggers that are coming up for us. So either that will be an emotional reaction to a situation, things we are seeing in others. So this is a really interesting one. I see this happen all the time. You know, someone else behaving in a certain way who's in our periphery, and we instantly go to, oh, well, they would act like that because they're like that, instead of going, is there part of me, like, what is this showing me? Because I'm a mirror, like, what part of me is this showing me? Because there's going to be a shadow in there, there's going to be a part of you, there's going to be part in your subconscious mind. Okay, so and then when you do that, you can also look at, how can I alchemize this shadow? How does this serve me? So how does it serve me, and how am I attracting more of it in? But also, how does it serve me? So as I shared with my anxiety, that means I can be super intuitive with my clients, and being highly sensitive, I can pick stuff up, and I can help my clients. I can help my clients. First, I'm good friends with Carl Jung, apparently, and now I'm making up words. So yeah, I can really help my clients to shift and grow by being super intuitive, because we can go in, we can see what's going on energetically, and then I can get them back onto track. So yeah, and watch out for the light washing as well, because, you know, it's very easy to fall into that love and light trap, but there is no simple love and light, because everything is balanced. Everything has a light side and everything has a shadow side, and that is, you know, that is the law of, that's quantum physics, that's the law of the universe. You know, you can't argue with that science. So you know, just try not to fall into that trap. Try not to fall into the, like, putting yourself into a box. So as I shared, I'm going to be changing my work in terms of the energy work, in terms of connecting to source energy, and yeah, if you are hiding parts of yourself, then I just want you to know that, like, I'm living testament of the fact that you can alchemize those gifts. You can come out of your box. It is safe for you to come out of your box and come out into the world, because when you connect to that authentic you, that's when everything flows. So if you want to know more about connecting to your authentic self, I have something super exciting coming that I've been working on, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this. I can't believe I'm doing this. So what I've got coming for you, which is to help you connect back with your authentic self, I'm actually, for the first 100 people, because I just really want to give back, the first 100 people, I'm going to be giving you it's around a 90% discount on the product, okay, but only for the first 100 people. And it's going to be all around how to connect to your authentic self through some really amazing trainings. So if you would like to be the first to know, so that you can be in those first 100 people and get that 90% discount, once those 100 spots have gone, it's going to go back up to full price and be promoted out. Then let me know. I'm also on a bit of a giving back theme, and I'm going to be mentoring someone. Just had this, like when I was resting last week, I had this drop in. I've already had some applications for this as well. I'm going to be mentoring someone who is younger than me, who's an intuitive entrepreneur, who wants some support, you know, who's highly intuitive and creative. So keep those applications or recommendations coming in. There's some amazing people that I've been recommended to work with who are like, their reactions are amazing as well, like super grateful. And also I just want to say as well, like so many things going on at the moment, a big thank you to everyone who, like, I was overwhelmed by the response to my post of would you, if you had a free coaching session, would you do it? But the only catch means that you had an audience. So I am going to be doing some coaching with an audience, which is going to then help like everyone watching. So a huge thank you to like the masses that have flooded through. I won't be able to do all of them, but yeah, thank you so much for those. I'm going to be putting like an application form in place for that, just to help me to narrow that down a bit more. So if you are interested in that as well, and you're willing to be, it's going to be audio, I think it's probably going to be audio, be coached but with an audience. Let me know if you're up for that, and also you know, you can promote yourself and all of those things as well. So so if this resonates, if you need some support, then you know where I am. Get in touch with me, comment below, send me a message. And if you want to be one of the first 100 people before I launch, to help you get in touch with your authentic self, you're going to get that 90% discount, which I can't quite believe I'm doing, but I'm just going to go for it. So any questions, let me know. If anything that I've said doesn't make sense and you want me to explain it even more, then let me know. But do the shadow work, stop with the flipping light washing, and this is how you absolutely step into your brilliance and do this work that you know that you were born to do here in the world. So have an awesome day, and I will speak to you all soon. Lots of love. Bye.